Hello you guys, how's everyone doing? Hope everyone's well. Today's topic is a fun one. It's an exciting one. It's also one that has so much heavy energy around it because so many people in this world are so freaking scared that they won't ascend, or they're going to fail ascension, or they're going to be left behind. So I really want to get on and make this video. It's going to be super candid, just like a conversation between you guys and me. And just sit back, relax, let's have a conversation. So ascension is a fairly new topic for many light workers, right? Because in school, when we're born, we go to school, we get absorbed by a religious foundation or a religious institute, like you're either Muslim or Christian or Hindu. So wherever you are, you get taught whatever you're taught in school, you get taught whatever you're taught in your religious institution, and pretty much that becomes life. And all of a sudden, now you're much older and you're like, oh my God, what the hell is ascension? Nobody taught us that. So let's talk about it. Ascension is simply, my definition of it is increased consciousness, increased awareness, complete mastery and balancing of the four body system, which is the physical body, the spiritual body, the emotional body, and the mental body. And it is that journey from being a human, right? The journey from being human through all its trials, through all its tribulations, through all its contrast of good and bad, of evil and bad, of hell and heaven, and all the stuff we've been through. So going from that to our ascended master self, which every single one of us is. Jesus and Buddha are not the only ascended masters. Yes, they have ascended, but they've also left the breadcrumbs for us to ascend and follow their footsteps. And nobody gets left behind. So let's talk about what I just mentioned. Another way of looking at exactly what I just said is the journey from being a caterpillar to being a butterfly. That is really our journey from our human birth, our human selves, to being our ascended selves, our ascended master selves. So why is all of a sudden why is there so much talk about ascension now? Why didn't our parents talk about ascension? Let's start with that. And like I said, this is going to be super candid. So whatever I kind of get, I'm going to flow with it. Okay. It's going to be more like a conversation. So in 2012, Earth specifically got into a part of the photon belt as it went through its orbit. And all of a sudden in this photon belt, there's accelerated and amplified light gamma waves being sent into Earth's surface, into Earth. Because of this, Earth is all of a sudden, it has this option of being a higher vibration than it used to be. It has the option of being an ascended planet because the energies are now supporting this higher frequency, this higher consciousness. And one thing I do want to mention here, which I have mentioned before, it's important to know this. A lot of planets have ascended before us, and a lot of planets will ascend after us. So we have to realize from the bigger perspective, or the bigger bird's eye view, that we are simply one planet, just one planet. Earth is just one amongst several hundreds of thousands of planets going through its ascension right now. Okay? As Earth ascends and Earth shifts from being a third density, so a lot of people talk about third density, fourth density, fifth density. I'm going to make another video talking specifically about that because that's a vast topic. But Earth as a planet is shifting from its third density, or its heavier density feel of war and manipulation and all the energies that are dense and heavy. It's moving up to a higher consciousness. It's moving up to its ascended state. And the entire universe is witnessing this, graduation, if you will. The entire world, the entire universe is witnessing it. Earth is prime time TV right now of the multiverse. The way I think of it, guys, is imagine Earth, we're a planet here. I imagine UFOs surrounded and stationed all around Earth, watching in glory, in grand anticipation and in excitement about the history we are creating right now. Take that in for a moment. We are prime time TV for the universe. Because when a planet ascends, it's a huge celebration. It's not just about Earth. It's just not about the planet. That's how consciousness evolves. That's how the universe evolves. That's how God evolves. You see, it's not just about you and me. We are pawns playing a much bigger role in this whole thing. And I don't mean to take away from the love of the extraterrestrials like the Pleiadians and the Arcturians and all the ETs that are working timelessly to help us. I don't mean to take away in any form, but even they're helping us because they are part of the bigger picture. They're not helping us just so you and I can have a great experience. All these agents of God, these agents of Source, are helping with this grand ascension experiment, or I shouldn't say it is an experiment because so many different things are involved, so many different aspects are involved, but the entire world is watching. And when I say they can pull us up like primetime TV, they can. They have such sophisticated equipment, they can just zoom in and say, okay, what is the consciousness right now of Earth? How many people have awakened? All right, is this percent? All right, how many have ascended? How many are close to ascending? What is the consciousness overall on Earth? Where is the consciousness more? Is it higher in North America? Where is it? So these ETs, these aliens, these Pleiadians and Arcturians and all our beautiful friends, because you have to remember in ETs, there's ETs that are helping us, and there's also ETs that are hostile to us. And I'm only referring to the ETs that are helping us, okay? So this is huge for them, and they watch with anticipation. And there's so much support for Earth. They've created this force field around Earth that makes Earth untouchable, indestructible. Because if not, Earth would have been hit. It just takes one hit to destroy a planet, right? So just know that you guys, you and I, we are part of something so major, so grand, so memorable, that when we leave, the first thing we're going to get is a standing ovation from our guides, from our angels. When we transition, when we leave Earth, we're going to wake up to this new realization, and we're going to look back and get back all our memory and say, holy shit, look at what we've done. So let me say that in another way. What you and I are doing through our process of awakening and ascending and all of that, which we'll get to in a minute, is we are creating history. We are helping the planet by remembering who we are. We are leaving the breadcrumbs for everyone else to remember who they are. Whether you are here or not on Earth, even after you're gone, your work will be anchored in Gaia's grid. Your work is being anchored in the Akash, in the Akashic records. Your work is being anchored in the blueprints of Earth, in the DNA of Earth. So think about it as the influencer that you are. We are light workers that were born like a caterpillar. We were born as humans, and we were immersed in the depths of being human. We were immersed in religion. We were immersed in stress, in jobs, in fear, in abuse, in being spoken down to, in polarity of good and bad. We've all been the victims, and we've all been the perpetrators. We've all been the angels, and we've all been the demons. So we've been through all of that. And then at some point in our lives, something triggers an awakening. Something triggers, it could be a death of a loved one, it could be an accident, it could be a major relationship breakup. So all of a sudden it triggers this awakening, which then leads to a roller coaster of life events, basically. So your awakening happens, and then you start looking at everything. We'll do that in another video as well, the stages of awakening. But most of you, I think, are familiar with that. And if you're not, let me know, because I would like to make another one if you guys find that helpful, the stages of awakening. So once you awaken, a whole new roller coaster starts. Because awakening, a lot of people think is painful. But why is it painful? I don't think it's painful. I actually think it's very fruitful. That's the word I like to use, because it's so freaking magical. Even in my own example, in my own life, I have come from the depths of 3D, the depths of 3D, the depths of self. I had no self-worth. I had no self-love. I didn't have any self-worth. I didn't know who I was. I believed what everybody told me. I didn't know I was a divine creature or divine being, and I didn't think I had any influence on this planet. I was just lost. I'm like, why do people come to Earth? They just come here to work and get married and eat and go out for movies and then die? Something seems messed up. And then you awaken to, oh my God, there's more to life. And that's when all your lessons come up. Why do all your lessons come up? Because that is when everything that was buried deep in the surface comes to the deep in your core, comes to the surface, saying, okay, let's deal with your lack of self-love. Let's deal with your lack of self-worth. Let's deal with your lack of your lack mentality. Why are you blocking your own abundance? All of that come in for mastery, and that is the longest phase in the awakening phase. If there's like 4 or 5 phases, with somebody who's newly awakening being in the first phase, and someone, let's say where I am, or a few of you are, let's say where we are, is one of the final stages before ascension. So there's no judgment, there's no hurry, and there's no rush. Wherever you are, we all were there at some point, right? So really going from where a butterfly, a caterpillar is, going through that process where the caterpillar literally thinks this is it. My job is just to crawl around slowly, and I don't know, that's pretty much it. That's my life. You know, nobody looks at me, nobody appreciates me. I don't have any contribution in this world. To one day going through that metamorphosis, squeezing through this tunnel of darkness, and suddenly you have wings. You're a butterfly. You're a beautiful butterfly, and everyone has your attention. So think of it as an increase in your vibrational state, an increase in your consciousness, an increase in your awareness. Those of us who are working on our ascension, it simply means we are working on being the superhumans that we are. We are moving away from our humanness while honoring our humanness. We're still honoring that we're human. We're having a human experience here, but we're now moving into our galactic heritage. We're moving into our divinity. We take care of ourselves. We focus on what feels good to us. We have mastery on our thoughts. We have mastery on our emotions. We have mastered wellness, whether it's through yoga or dancing or through going to the gym. We've mastered all these areas. We have balance in our physical bodies. We know how to keep ourselves vibrant. We have mastered our emotions. We don't just throw around our shit on people. If we're angry, we reflect on why we're angry. We don't just dump it on our friends and dump it on our colleagues and blame everyone else. That's all the first level of awakening. It's always the other person's fault. Then you come out of that, right? Then you come out of that and say, okay, why am I behaving this way? That it can be their fault, because they can do anything. They can say anything. How you behave is it's completely your domain. So it's okay to be upset on someone, but there's a very big difference in being upset with someone and dumping your shit on someone. So that's a huge one. It's like if somebody is triggered by me. So let's say, I'll give you a very common example in my life. Let's say someone is triggered by me because I'm standing in my power, or let's say I'm going on a luxury vacation. Let's say they're triggered by me. They will just start hating me or disliking me from the side or unfriending me on Facebook. But the real mastery, and that's the process of ascension really, is them looking at themselves and saying, why am I triggered by her? Oh, damn, I'm still vibrating lack. I haven't mastered how to attract infinite abundance. I'm still vibrating lack. So instead of blaming her or him or someone else for triggering these feelings, let me thank them, because they're my biggest teachers. So when you switch your mentality, I can tell you, you'll fast forward. And this has been one of my superpowers. I evaluate myself, holy shit. Like, I don't know anyone who does it like me. I'm always looking at where can I be better? Where am I being more human, and where can I be more divine? Where can I, so being in control of your reality and not being a victim for anything. So not saying, oh, I'm a poor victim, no matter what. In the awakening to ascension journey, guys, a lot of tests will come in. These tests can be as hard as you want them to be, or as easy as you want them to be. The test is the same. You can go through a test, I can go through a test, but for me it could be super easy. The only difference in this case between you and me would be that I'm in a state of full surrender to my ascension process, to my ascension journey, to my awakening journey, and you're in a state of resistance. So whatever the universe throws at me or presents to me, I surrender to it because I know I'm surrendered to the divine plan. So if this is going to bring up something that I don't like to see today, or taking away all my friends from me so that I can learn self-love, or showing me through contrast how far I've come, like all of these are blessings of the universe. So the minute we start feeling poor me, poor me, poor me, there's no end to our suffering. There's no end. You're just going to be in that loop of suffering, right? So for ascension, there's a lot of myths that I'd like to talk about today. There's about 3 or 4 myths that I wrote down about what happens really, what happens when you ascend. So when you go from being human, the way I look at it is you're born human, and then all of a sudden you become awakened. Okay, so first stage is your human self. Second is your awakened self, where you feel, oh my God, I can see what a lot of people who are asleep cannot see, right? But once you get to that phase, a lot of your judgments come in too. So that is the longest phase in awakening. That is your longest phase, because your judgments come up. You're like, ooh, I'm better than her. I'm more spiritual than him. And all this is normal. I've been through all these phases, because you don't realize that your ego is taking over. You think that that is your truth, but then you start seeing in the third phase, holy shit, that's my ego. So you go through all of these lessons without judging yourself. That's so important here. A lot of people judge. They feel they're bad people. There's no good, there's no bad. And I know this concept is spoken of a lot. There is no good and there is no bad. We're all good and bad. We're all evil and pure. We're all the victims and the perpetrators. Think of all our lives. Think of this life. We've done both. So why judge another? Someone else is asleep. Well, and if you're judging them, I can tell you, compared to the next level, you might be asleep. It's interesting how asleep I realize I am every stage of my awakening. Awakening isn't just one stage. Even now, sometimes I'm like, holy shit, how did I miss that? Because you're opening up your eyes like the layers of an onion. The deeper you go, the more you open your eyes. The more you open your eyes, the more you open your eyes. Like recently, I got this guidance that our names, so we are a corporation. So I changed my name, as many of you know. I changed my name to my spiritual name, which I received from Divine Mother. It was presented to me as EldoRa, Melchizedek, and then later on I got the rose. So my birth name was different. My passport name is different. So I recently got guidance which baffled me. This was another stage of my awakening, where I was shown how when you're born, you become a corporation. These powers that want to keep you small and that want to make you just go around the rut of stress and life and unhappy marriage and all of that, they invest in your misery, because the more miserable you are, the more energy feeds them. Remember my last video about spiritual warfare? We are all individual corporations, and I heard that, I don't know how this works yet because this is still new information, but I heard that each of us is worth about $2 million to the elite. And I still am getting the guidance on the rest of it, but it really shows us how asleep we have been. So there's no need to judge someone else for being more asleep than us or more awake than us, because that's the problem. A lot of people in spirituality fall into that, and these are the traps of ascension. So this video has gone on 20 minutes. I was going to write some of the traps of ascension. I'm just going to make that in a separate video, because I've been getting feedback that 20 to 30 minutes is a good length. So what else can I say about ascension? It's really, okay, here, I have something else that I'd like to add. When you're in third density, when you're living your life as a human in a third density, your life is surrounded by third density things. So you like going to restaurants that are like, have a lot. I'm going to give you a very graphic example so you get it. Like a lot of food on a plate, cheap, really cheap. Okay, that's the image coming to mind right now. And then as you raise in consciousness, you're okay paying a lot of money to have a small meal but highly packed with superfoods, highly packed with microgreens and super nourishing foods. So the image that's coming to me right now is density, is you vibrating at a you're vibrating so dense that you are uncoachable, unteachable. You're just immersed in your religion, in all of your programming. As you go into fourth density, you start vibrating slightly lighter, okay? Fourth density is more about, whew, what a relief. I don't have to buy that religious bullshit anymore. Or what a relief. I don't have to listen to my grandparents and parents just because they think they're right, or my culture, my society. I have a voice of my own. So it's relief, but also all your lessons. Then you move into fifth density. Fifth density, guys, is where all the fun begins. I started seeing more of the fifth dimension reality in my life last June when I went to Banff, and my life changed since. That's when I started making YouTube videos and all of that. When you go into fifth dimension, it just means you're vibrating at a much lighter, so you're vibrating higher and you're less dense. And as you vibrate higher, so you're vibrating more and more your fifth dimensional being. So you're vibrating, you're going closer and closer to your ascension, 3D, 4D, 5D, and then you ascend and you go higher to 6D, 7D. So these are all dimensions within Earth. So think of Earth as this big ball, and there's many life forms. So one example that comes to mind right away is, and I don't mean this with any judgment, as you guys know, I don't mean this with any judgment. I just tell you the first thing that comes to mind, and it may be funny, and that's fine. So when I look at my life is peaceful and joyful, and I wake up in the morning, I have a cup of tea with my partner, I sunbathe in my own living room, I go for massages, I go to Cairo, I make YouTube videos, I read books, right? I don't have to go to an 8-to-5 job. I don't have to go in traffic. I pretty much am the boss of my life. I know what I want, I know how to get it, and my life's comfortable, okay? Now, when I look at my ex-husband, with all my love, when I look at my ex-husband, he is in the depths of 3D. Depths of 3D. Extremely stressful job, has to leave home at 6 a.m., comes back, and he has so much debt now that he has to, do other additional jobs to pay off his debt. Now, even the people who surround him are people who are stressful, who live those 8-to-5 jobs, who are vibrating stress. They're not happy in their marriages. They don't really know what to do with life. So they go eat more, or they go to movies more, or they fill up on these things to feel better about themselves. Because what do you do in 3D? Really, I've been through that. I'm like sitting in the best vacation and I'm like, I'm bored. I don't know. I don't feel happy. I don't have joy. Something's wrong with me. So think about within Earth, there's that dimension, people living like that. Then there's also the fourth dimension people that have just awakened. They're going to all these spiritual events, not saying that that's very glorious, because in the spiritual events, there's judgment, there's competition, there's all these spiritual images, which a lot of people try to put on, which is a trap to ascension. I'll make a separate video on that. And think about it. So the density, so my ex-husband's life is very much prevalent in this Earth, right? It's the same Earth. Then the spiritual community's life is also prevalent in the same Earth. And these guys are not as stressed. They're lying in the parks, they're living the hippie life. They're traveling to Costa Rica in the winter. So they think, wow, we've hit the jackpot. But what I'm reminding you guys, if you're there, is wow, don't even settle. There's like 3-4 levels above that. So enjoy it, but don't settle. Wake up and come fly with me. Let's all fly together. My guides don't like it when I say let's fly together, because they say to me, EldoRa, you're not holding yourself back for anyone. Apparently, I've done that in my past lives. So my guides are very, very particular when I take on another person's burden. And literally, if I start feeling that, like burden from my page or from my YouTube, you'll see for 10-15 days, I won't make any videos, because I'll get guidance saying no. So taking on other person's burdens is just not allowed in my homework. Letting you guys know, because I've over abused that power in the past. I've done that a bit too much, and that's not mastery. They're telling me for your ascension, you need to learn how to fly alone. You can't take anyone with you. You can teach people, you can inspire people, you can motivate people, but they have to do the work themselves, okay? So So yeah, so all of these are living in the same earth. So in the fourth density, people are thinking, oh wow, we're not working. Yeah, we don't have a lot of money, but at least we're not, you know, driving in traffic. We're not stressed out. We're alone. There's a lot of loneliness in this realm. There's a lot of abundance blocks. People haven't yet mastered how to master money. It's all here. Like once I remember I went to a healer, and this healer like was really good with cellulite, and I didn't see her, but I went to consult with her. And she says, cellulite is all here. And I get it. I agree. Excess weight is all here. It's not what you eat. It's your belief systems. I've lost 10 pounds in the last 2 months just with the belief system. Just with belief systems go, and they're constantly going. It's like I'm telling you, awakening is, it's constant. You're never fully awakened. So imagine all of these people are living in the same earth. The 3D, the stress, the 4D, the spiritual, then the 5D, we're all living, but our lives are so different. So Earth is a planet right now of several different dimensions, several realities. And Earth itself is now ascending, where the lower vibrations, the lower energies are just not going to be supported anymore. Meaning humanity has no choice but to ace their game, to get up and say, okay, what am I missing? And to open up their eyes and saying, this energy is undeniable. Definitely something's going on. Definitely something's new. Let me stop resisting it and let me start surrendering to it and going with the flow. Because one thing about spirituality, one thing about this ascension process, guys, is no one's going to hold a gun to your head and say, you have to follow this. No one's going to do that. That's what religion did, right? To all of us. No one's going to do that for you for your ascension, because you are in charge. You are in charge of what you allow in your life. You are in charge of the reality you create. Whatever, look around you right now. What is your reality? Who are your friends? What vibration are your friends? What vibrational frequency does the job you do have? What is the vibrational resonance of your relationship? You'll see, are these high vibing relationships or are they low vibing relationships? And without judgment, when you just look around, you know what you need to do to get to the next level of your mastery. And there's no judgment in that. There's no apology in that. Take control of the reins and say, I'm a master. This is what I need to do. This is what I need to do for my ascension. And guys, I'm going to tell you, as you ascend from 3D to 4D to 5D, I can tell you that all your superpowers get activated. So why delay? Why delay? In the last 2 years alone, I have received the gifts of channeling my guides. I have received gifts of being a seer. I see things in my dreams. I get my downloads in my dreams. I didn't have these abilities 2 years ago because I was still working through my human stuff. But I worked through it without second guessing it. I worked through it with laser sharp focus. I got rid of all the stuff in my way. So as you keep ascending, life just gets so magical, so easy. And I am one of the first wavers of doing this in this particular cycle. Every 7 years, there's a new batch of initiates, okay? So whatever I have done is being done by certain people in the world. And now we've left the blueprints for the next stage. So it's almost like the gate opens and then the whole bunch come in and learn all the lessons that the first level initiates passed. Does that make sense? I know, right? When I speak candid, I kind of go all over the place, but I think it eventually makes sense. And a lot of you voted that you like my candid videos more, which is perfect because I like the candid videos way more than the structured ones as well. So focus on your ascension. Ascension is nothing more, and I'm going to make another video on the traps or the the myths of ascension. No one's going to get left behind. If you're a good, so these are the only, okay, one last thing before I go. This is very, very important. No one gets left behind. Number one. Number two, you cannot fail ascension. Okay? If you are a good person, anybody watching this video, I'm assuming is already that, because you don't get attracted to these videos or even this vibration. It's a vibrational thing. If you're not a good person and you're still into like you won't get you won't stay so long, 30 minutes. My light will actually make you feel sick. It'll bring up all your judgments towards me. So anyone watching this is going to ascend. Why is that? The only criteria is that you have to be a good person at heart, not want war and destruction and manipulation. You should be a good person at heart. And number two, follow universal laws. So you're not working with the dark and, you know, doing stuff to harm the planet or harm people. Now, how does it happen? Some of you may ascend in this lifetime. Some of you may ascend in the next lifetime. Some of you may ascend 10 lifetimes from now. But the good news is Earth, since 2012, like I told you in the beginning of this video, is now in a place where it is super easy to ascend if you surrender to the universe instead of resist it. Surrender to it. Set strong intentions every single day. Say, dear guides, dear angels, I know you can hear me even though I may not yet be able to hear you. And list to them what you need. I am laser focused on my ascension. What is the next step? But don't get, what's the word? Don't treat it like this horrible punishment, like, oh my God, what else do I do? What else do I do? Just chill out. Chill out, go to the park, go for a walk. The thing is, there's no hurry. There is no hurry. Enjoy the journey. I always tell my guides, I'm like, I'm loving this phase. They say, EldoRa, in like 5 years, you're going to get so busy. You may not have the privilege of going on all these vacations. And I mean, I think I will, because that's important to me. I'm going to make sure I carve that into my lifestyle. But my guides say, enjoy this phase where you're just starting your YouTube videos. Enjoy this phase, because 5 years from now, you may not have the luxury of this much time. So, and I'm in no rush to get there. I want to enjoy the process. I want to anchor each lesson. As I go from one dimension to the other, I want to anchor the lessons before flying to the next level. Okay? So ascension just means you're flying to the next level of consciousness available to you. I hope this helped. I love hearing from you. I love hearing your comments. So even though I actually on YouTube, I've been pretty good. I've been replying to all of your comments because I really enjoy hearing your experiences and what this did for you. So continue, please, spreading the message, sharing these videos, sharing your love with me. And for those of you who have not yet come into my Facebook realm, please do. It's facebook.com/EldoRa1111. Lots of love, guys. Take care. Until next time.